Hello and welcome back to Good Germs Off-Road Adventures, and welcome back to the shop. Now, if you were watching the last Nothing vlog, episode 8, I think it was, I think I introduced y'all to the Purple Rainforest, Polaris Sportsman, Captain No Brakes, and Captain Leans a Lot. At this point in time, I believe the Purple Rainforest is done and it's going back to its owner, maybe. But today we're going to get into Captain No Brakes. And if you can't remember why I called it Captain No Brakes, it's because it has no brakes. We're going to get this thing over to the patio, get the pressure washer on it. Pressure washer, how do you say that properly? I don't know. We're going to get the pressure washer on it, get it cleaned up, get it back in the shop, and we'll tear into it. Stick around. Okay, before I get it over to the place where we're going to do pressure washing, let's just see if the thing's going to run, because neither one of the two green ones really run all that well. They run enough to move them, and that's probably about it. All right, let's see. We turn the gas on. Yes. Choke. Yes. Key. Now, this is either a 97 or a 98. I don't know which is which, but the starter is here on the thing. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves while I try to get it started. Okay, well, what if we give it a little gas when we try to start it? Will that do it? Well, it sort of woke up. Doesn't really sound very good though, does it? No, it does not. It's very argumentative. Let's see if it'll move. Stay with me now, stay with me. Is that all she's got? Well, I guess that's good enough to get it up in the air and get it cleaned off for now anyway. Yeah, that's about right. All right, so we've got Captain No Brakes out here, and we're hosing it down, or at least I say we. It's not really we, it's more of a him. Jim's back with us today.
All right.
So Jim is the one that owns the Purple Rainforest Sportsman, but his friend owns these two other green ones, you know, Captain No Brakes, Captain Leans a Lot, and we got Captain No Brakes out here. Got the wheels and tires off of it, but real quick, before we get it too rinsed off, let's have a look at how clean it already is. So this is a great example of cleanliness. Messes with my OCD something terrible, let me tell you. Anyway, here's our first look at it. We're going to go ahead and get this thing as cleaned up as possible, and then we'll start digging in and seeing what all we think it's going to need. Well, we'll just get to it. Well, Jim found something quite interesting. We found some sort of nest of some kind of critter on the quad here. What is that? And why is it there? Look, this quad lives in the desert. Where did that come from? I have no idea. We're going to try to, evacuate whatever the hell that is off of this here quad before it goes back in the shop again, which kind of sucks. It's been in the shop for like, I don't know, a couple months with that stuff living. I'm a little terrified now. Well, the good thing is, whatever that was living on the fender of that quad there, looked like it was dead, and we just kind of cleaned it off. I don't know what kind of larva. Was that botfly? Tell me, was that botfly? No? Wrong side of the world? Yeah, okay. Look, I'm just being a little paranoid about the parasite on the quad. Okay. Let's have a look and see how this thing looks. It looks way better, like we might actually be able to work on it. We found the engine. The engine's right there. It was missing before. And even on this side, you can still find the engine. As you can see, that looks way better. And most importantly, once we get the wheels back on it, put it back on the ground, make it drive over back into the shop, which is a chore, but it'll do it. And we'll get it back up in the air and we'll start kind of going over it. We'll see what we find. What's it going to need? I don't know. I'm surprised is because this didn't clean up anywhere near as good as that. Like, look how stained.
It's just kind of dingy.
The cases are just heavily stained on this, and on this I was expecting it to be like that too, and it just wasn't. All right, we've got Captain No Brakes back in the shop. Let's just take a walk around and see what we think this thing's going to need. Well, let's start at the top, and as we can tell, it needs brakes. Speedo cable's unhooked. That's all right. We did check that it worked though. When you spin the rear axle, that actually spins. So why is it unhooked? I don't know. Otherwise up here, nothing else really too shocking. This was held on with a zip tie, but that's okay. We know that these headlights don't work. High beam does work. These don't work. That's something the owner does want to have. He wants to have the headlights all working, so we'll take care of that for him. Let's check out the brakes, because on Purple Rainforest we had all cracked rotors. These look pretty good. Brake pads don't look great, so I'm going to do brake pads. Check this out. We got a Zerk fitting on the tie rod end. Huh, never seen that on a Sportsman. Okay. Axles. This boot, probably can't see it right here, but I know this boot, saw it earlier, has a bit of a tear in it. We'll probably look at replacing the axles just to make sure they're all good. I mean, this quad's pretty old. See the engine, that cleaned up pretty nice. I'm not seeing any evidence of oil or coolant leaks. However, I do see that that's empty, the overflow can there, which is why I have this open. But it looks like the radiator's pretty full. That's a good thing, because that means we shouldn't have any leaks. I can't get that back on. What is wrong with me? There it goes. Perfect. Air box. I don't know what's going on here. It's got some bolts, but they're not really loose. But oh, there's that bolt screw came out. That's not good. There's a sheetrock screw there. Another one there. This bolt that's not doing anything there. Some other kind of screw. I don't know. We're gonna have to take the air box out anyway. We'll figure out what's going on there. Back here, the bushings all look really, actually, to be quite good. They're all red. Never saw that before, but that's okay. Don't know if they've ever been replaced or not, but we've got Zerk fittings everywhere. So that's something we're going to make sure we do, is Zerk grease everything. We even have them on this model. You see we've got U-joints instead of CV joints there and in there. And they all have Zerk fittings, so we can grease them up right nice. And we even have a Zerk fitting up here on the sway bar, which is okay, sure. Looks like we've got a shock mount that is slightly needs a bushing. Okay. Coming around to this side again, Bushings all look good. The U-joints look good. We'll grease those up real nice. Let's check this. Oh. Well, that's not great. Oh, and the upper one too. Can't really see it up there. Little tiny brake rotor on the transmission. That looks okay. Don't know what the pads look like, but if we're going to do front pads, we should do rear pads while we're at it. There's more engine. There's a carburetor in there. And this axle actually looked pretty good, but I'll be honest, I'm probably still just going to go ahead and replace it. Obviously, we'll address the Zerk fittings that are on the prop shaft, and that's probably about it. Obviously, we're also going to change the engine oil, transmission oil, front gear case oil, and the oil. Oh, got a little lightheaded. I stood up too quick there. Anyway, and the oil in the front hubs that activates on the four-wheel drive. And that should be it. But for today, I do want to get into this carburetor. We're going to get it out, get it rebuilt, see if we can get the thing at least running halfway decent. And for those of you that have not watched me do that in a video all to itself, put a link somewhere in the top. You can click it and see how to rebuild a carburetor. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and get this thing yanked out and see if we can get it to run. Okay, well, we've rebuilt the carburetor. Check the spark plug, and it looks like somebody's replaced that recently, probably trying to solve an issue with the carburetor by changing the spark plug out. Had a really nice NGKR V-Power deal on it, and it looked pretty good, oddly, because the thing barely runs. Let's see if we made it run better now. It's hard to see, but there's a nice, clean and shiny carburetor down there. But let's see if we've made it run. We're gonna turn the key on, choke on, probably should turn the gas on right there. Let's give it 2 pumps and then push the button. Pretty close though. So we've got no choke, we're cold and we're idling. We're picking up speed for no reason, okay. Well, that's weird. Why is it doing that? Is it possible we have a air leak somewhere? Okay, now what's that about? Okay, we've got an issue with the throttle itself. Watch this. Why? All right, so here's the thing with this quad. You know, we rebuilt the carburetor, so we know we put a clean carburetor back in it. Ignition seems fine. Pulled the spark plug. Spark plug actually looks like it's been replaced recently. It looks pretty good. We got the idle down. It looks like somebody maybe turned the idle up really high because it wasn't running right. Got the idle set, and it idles wonderfully. But you can't raise it off idle. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. Turn the key on, give it a Scotia choke. Okay, so we got a little bit of choke on. We'll give it a minute, we'll turn the choke off. Okay, there we go. No choke. And you can hear this thing idles perfect. It sounds fantastic. Back here sounds good. The exhaust, like I said, this thing sounds fantastic at idle. But check out what happens when you try to even touch the throttle. And as you can see, it starts right back up right away. And at first you think, well, the carburetor's starving for gas. You know, it's not getting gas. Here's the thing. Whenever you do that, you get gas out the overflow. You take the air box off, you get gas shooting back out at you. Well, that only means one thing. If you're guessing the exhaust lobe on the camshaft is worn down, you're probably right. So that's what I'm thinking it is. Very common on these older Polarises with this engine in it, the 500, I think some of the others as well. Up to about 2001, I think after that they probably finally got it right. Instead of using pot metal for a camshaft, maybe they decided to use some sort of steel. Anyway, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead, tear the front of this quad off, fenders, front bumper, gas tank, so we can get to the top of this engine, and we're going to open it up and have a look at the camshaft. I'm not going to do any of that on camera because I've done it on camera more than once, I believe, at this point. Ruby, Billy Badass, don't need to see all that again. We're going to get it down where we can get to the engine, then we're going to crack that open and have a look and see what we see. We'll be back right now. All right, I've got the front plastic, headlight, bumper, all of that off. It's in a pile over there. And with that now, we have really good access to the top of the engine. Now, of course, you can access all of this under the fuel tank. It's a little difficult, but you can get the valve cover off. You can get to the top end. It's just a lot more difficult. Plus, you really can't see what you're doing, so I figured let's go ahead and make it easy. So I'm going to go ahead and get the camera setups in a way, So I'm going to go ahead and get the camera set up in a way that hopefully it can film as we take that off and we see if there's something going on under that rocker valve cover thing. Well, that view is not too bad. So there's just a bunch of little screws or bolts all the way around this thing, and they're all just an 8mm head. Remember, these engines are made in the Japan place, so all of the little bolts and hardware you're going to find are going to be of the metric variety. You can choose to go at this with some sort of impact or electric thing, but when it comes to these, I choose to do it the old-fashioned way. Give it to me. I said, give it to me. Is that all the bolts? That is all the bolts. All right. Fine. Okay, let's see what we see under here. Bit of a tear in the gasket right here. That's not great. So here we have the two intake valves, and then down here we have the exhaust valves, and I don't know if they're showing up. Let's see. All right, so I've gone ahead and pulled the spark plug out so we can rotate the engine over easily. I've got it set at top dead center, and at top dead center we should see some play here, which I know they slide backwards and forwards, but they don't really slide up and down much. Same here. That one's got a little bit of up and down, which is unusual because usually these don't have any, but there's like no up and down play at all on these. So these are a little tight, but they do move. But surprisingly, as I was turning the engine over, the exhaust valves were moving up and down as you would expect them to. So I'm going to go ahead and take this rocker arm assembly off, and then we can have a look at the cam itself and see what it looks like. And these are just going to be these 10 millimeter guys right here. And it's always a good idea, if you're going to take this off, to do it while we're at top dead center. That way when you put it back together, you can recheck, you know, your valve clearance, your lash, if you will. And then also, you know, you're not trying to bind it up as you tighten these. You can get a good torque, a proper torque on these bolts. And I see a good amount of oil up here, which is a good thing. That tells me we have good oiling action up here at the top. Thankfully, all 4 of these bolts are also the same length, so I don't have to remember which one went where. That's much appreciated. Okay. Come on. There it goes. And first, let's check the pads. They have the nice rounded shape that you're looking for. I don't see any real wear. Well, right there on the exhaust side, you can see that groove. That's from the decompression ball that's within the camshaft. So that might be our problem. Maybe this decompression ball down here, you can see it right there. Maybe it's not dropping back like it's supposed to. Hard to say. Let's go ahead and get this out. Okay, so now let me sop up some of this oil that's sitting up here so it doesn't spill everywhere. Well, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and rotate this engine over, and we want to watch this lobe in the middle. That's the exhaust lobe. We want to see if we have any excessive wear. That doesn't look too bad, though. You can see it actually does not look too bad. And I know that that has a spec of about 1.28 to 1.29 inches. Let's get a caliper and see what it is. Let's see if we can get a measurement on that thing. Maybe turn it a little more. There we go. It's kind of hard to do with it in the bike, but you can see right here we have 1.2875, so that is on the good side of within spec. I have the rocker assembly reinstalled and torqued down properly. The 4 bolts you torque down in a crisscross pattern 2 times. The first time up to 89 inch-pounds of torque. Notice I said inch, not feet. And then the second time at 115 inch-pounds of torque, up to that. As close as you can get to that, probably the best. So that's torqued down, ready to go. So now I'm going to set you back up and we're going to adjust the valves, because I can already tell you they're tight. Okay, so after one last quick check to make sure we're still at top dead center, which we are, let's just check, you know, for wiggle. The exhaust valves have a tiny, and I mean tiny, bit of wiggle. These intakes, absolutely none. These intakes are too tight, quite a bit too tight. And I've got my feeler gauge. You can see that's a .006, that's 6 thousandths. That is the clearance for all 4 valves. Real quick, I'm going to try to stick it in the exhaust, and yep, on that side I can get it. Don't worry about that noise, that was nothing. And then I'm going to do this side. Notice I left the feeler gauge in this side. Since both of these are on the same rocker arm, the book says to do that, so that way that it doesn't tilt. So we can see both of them on the exhaust side. They have the proper clearance, which is normal. What I mean by normal is that you don't normally have problems here. Where you have problems, I've noticed a lot on, I saw it on my old 500 that I used to have, I saw it on Ruby Sue, is these intake valves get tight. like I said, those are too tight. They don't have any wiggle to them. I could try to shove a feeler gauge in there, but it is just not going to go. So we're going to take care of that. First thing we're going to do is take our 10 millimeter wrench and crack that loose. Ah, there it goes. That was really snug on there. Now we take a screwdriver of your choice, right? And then we're gonna stick a feeler gauge in there. And you don't want it to bind. You want to be able to move it back and forth. See, it's binding, that's too tight. Right there is good. I can move it back and forth freely. I want to put my wrench back on it, carefully hold this, and we're going to tighten. The trick is tightening without moving the set screw. Okay, now we check it again. There we go. Lovely. And now if I move it by hand, I should hear a little, well, you may not be able to hear it, but I should be able to feel a little bit of play. And there is a little bit of play. It's not a lot of play, but it's a little bit. Check it one more time. Yeah, that feels pretty good. So I want to put this back on, put my screwdriver back in, and I just want to make sure it's tight. Yeah, okay. Now this side. Now that that side's got the play it needs, you've got, notice it does go back and forth, but that doesn't mean it has up and down play. That just means you've got apparently enough oil. Let's see how far this one moves. You can see this one's kind of straight across. I guess from your view that's up and down. Let's see how much we have to move it out to make it work after we break it loose. Okay. It's important not to be pushing down on the screwdriver as you're doing this. You can make it read incorrectly. There we go. That has drag, but can move. Look how much that moved. That moved almost an entire quarter turn. That is a shocking amount of movement. Okay, let's hold that in place. Snug it down. And check it again. Can we get it in? Yep. And we have drag there. We have the same amount of drag there, it feels like. So now these should be properly adjusted. And now I can feel a little bit. And if you look real carefully, you can see that tiny bit of up and down movement. And of course we have that down here on the exhaust already as well. You probably can't see it, but I can feel it. And we already checked that. These valves should be adjusted. There is a little bit of side to side play on these. I guess that's okay. I mean, it's bolted in the only place it can go, so it is what it is. Okay. All right, so we now have this put back together. Managed to clean off the rocker cover. Actually set some parts in the parts washer while we were doing some other things so they had a chance to clean off, and they came out pretty good. Unfortunately, we couldn't put the whole engine in there. Anyway, we've got all this put back together. Everything's ready to go. I will have to admit and be honest with you, the gasket for the rocker cover, valve cover, it's not all in one piece, but I don't happen to have another one here in stock. I had the side cover, so I was able to do that, but I don't have a rocker cover for some reason, so I've got one ordered. We're just going to have to change that out when it comes. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get the gas tank set back on this here, and then we're going to start it and see what happens. Hopefully something good. Well, I guess here's the moment of truth. I don't know. Where's the choke? Oh, here's the choke. It's way over here now. The keys here to make sure everything works. Yeah, okay. Keys here. Oh, wait. Oh, this is the push button start. That's right, because it's really old. Did I turn the key on? No. Okay, now the key's on. Well, I don't know what it's called wherever you're from, but here that's called, what the hell? Let's keep trying. Oh, here we go. Shoot, that's gonna go flying off there. We don't want that. Give it to me. Okay. Oh, it's heavy. Let's put it over here on top of Captain Leans a Lot. How about this stuff? Is that gonna fall off? Probably. Well, how do I, okay. Can I choke off? Choke off. Nope, we still run horribly. Advice, people. Advice, because this is not doing what I need it to do here. Well, do you all have any ideas? You heard what it did and didn't do, which was pretty poor. Any ideas? Any at all? I guess it's back to the books and to the interwebs to see what it has to say. Well, it's quite a few days later, and I mean quite a few days later. I've done some messing around on this thing, and I'm hoping that I found the problem. I had it running and idling, and then I was squirting some starter fluid around the boot between the carburetor and the head there. And I was getting the change in idle. It would idle up with some starter fluid. So that's a bit of a telltale sign. We've got a crack or a leak in that boot. And I don't know if that's really what's causing the rest of this thing running the way it is. You know, keep it simple, stupid. The KISS acronym probably should have started there instead of tearing apart the top of this engine. You know, that's what you get for paying attention to the internet instead of your own little bit of instinct when you think it's just leaning out. Anyway, I tried to replicate that. The thing just doesn't want to start at all today. It kind of fires, but just it will not stay running. I'm just going to go ahead and move the gas tank out of the way, clean that up in that spot, and change that boot out. And I guess we'll see if that makes it run. Okay, here we go. All right, so this boot right here is what I'm talking about. You can see I've already got the carburetor. I didn't remove it all the way. I just have it dislodged. Just disconnect the fuel line, the vacuum line, and the vent, and then you can just pop this thing off. And this is just held in with a couple of Allen head screws or bolts on either side. And it's a little dirty around there. I might try to clean that up a little bit before I take it off. Probably going to do that. Yes, I'm going to do that. Anyway, we're going to pull this off and we'll inspect it and compare it to a new one. Okay, so here's the old one. I don't see any obvious cracks. However, the gasket-like part of this that goes around here, it's not really a gasket. It would be a raised portion of the you know, where it meets the head here, it's completely flat. Kind of looks like it may have been sucking air. It's hard to say. It is very dry. I don't see any other obvious cracks. It's also possible, because it's very dry and old, that it may not be sealing around the carburetor side. But I feel like it was probably sucking air more on this side. If you look at the new one, what in bloody hell is going on in the neighborhood? Anyway, if you look at the new one, it's hard to see on camera, but it has more of a sealing lip around the hole there, so it should seal better. Looking down here at the engine, it looks like it's a bit dirty, especially on the bottom side. Maybe it was sucking some air. It's hard to tell, but it's obviously not clean. So we're going to clean this surface up here with a rag. I don't want to get anything down inside the engine and make it worse than it already is. And we'll fit the new one on and I guess see what happens. I have to apologize. There's some dude driving around in a truck with a PA system talking nonsense in a language I don't understand. Just driving around. I have no idea. California, what do you do? Okay, I've got the new boot on there. Show you real quick. Let's move that out of the way. And there you go. Brand new. The bolts are torqued down to just tight enough. And I do wonder if that was some of the problem, because when I went to take those out, man, they were tight. I had to put both elbows into it and they went ka-ping and both broke loose. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get the carburetor put back on there and all hooked up. And then we'll see if it'll run better. God, I hope so. This one's been a challenge. Turn the fuel on. Okay. Well, we're slowly getting better. Let's just say I put you on a stand instead of trying to hold you and do that all at the same time. Now, I do know a lot of people say you got to have the air box in, it's got to be all sealed up. That makes no sense. I do know that it's probably a little lean because we don't have at least the air filter on, but that shouldn't cause all of this in my mind. But one way to tell, I guess we could put the air box back on and see what happens. This is one of the more difficult air boxes to try to fit. And it's broken. And these are pretty near unobtainium. Most likely. Ow, exhaust is hot. Don't touch hot exhaust. All right, I guess let's see if it'll run now. With the key turned on, that is. Okay, we've got it running again, sort of. Yeah, so we're not really any better than we were before. So I have no idea. I'm kind of out of ideas at the moment. I've done many researches into this, and I cannot seem to find what can cause this. It just seems like it's running out of gas, and I just know it's not because, like I said, when I drain that carburetor, it's full. Yeah. Well, I'm still thinking about all the fuel issues. I've gone ahead and put new gas in it because the old gas, it didn't smell like gasoline anymore. But we put new gas in it, flushed everything. Still doing the same, nonsense it's been doing. So I think I'm going to order a new carburetor. Well, like I said not that long ago, and actually in the other video where we did the axles and things, I've got to get this thing running. And to do that, look, I'm out of ideas, so we just went ahead and ordered, you know, an Amazon carburetor. I'm going to go ahead and slap it in real quick and let's see if it works. Okay, so here's where we are. We've installed the new carburetor there. And like I said, that's just some cheapie on the Amazon website. It's like 40, 41 bucks. You know, it came from the China, but people say it works. So this is kind of my last ditch effort to make this thing want to do something other than be horrible. So let's see what we did here. Let's turn the gas on. Yep. Let's activate the throttle. Yep. And I need to probably put you all down because I only have two hands. I haven't grown the third arm out of the middle of my chest yet. So I'm going to put you down and we'll hold on. Oh my. Okay, so here we go. I've got my choke here. Let's turn the choke all the way on. Sure. Where's the key thing? Oh, the key thing is down here. Push button here. Let's just see what happens. A little cough, but that was unexpected. So now I've got the choke on halfway. You can see it there. Something's rattling, but that's okay. It's just the frame because it's taken apart. That's fine. Choke is off. This is a pretty big improvement. Look, it's never run like this before, so maybe this is what it needed. Maybe it just needed a carburetor. I don't know if it's going to idle or not. Let's see. It idles. The idle speed does need to come up a little bit. I'm also leaking gas out of the fuel line, but that's okay. Will it start back up? Color me happy. Look, I've got a lot of other things to do on this, but the fact that she's running, we've got some tuning to do. We'll get into that. But I just wanted to see if I put a new carburetor on this, if Captain No Brakes or Captain New Brakes, whatever kind of brakes it's got now, was going to run. But that's a hell of an improvement. Now, of course, we are a little lean. We don't have the air filter or air box installed. So once we put that on, it may calm it back down. But, whew, man, that's a relief. I don't know what to do now. Well, I've got a gas leak to fix. And we've got some reassembly to do, so it feels like it's idling a little high now that it's warming up. So we've got some adjusting and some work to do. I'll tell you what, I will catch back up to y'all, probably not tonight, but it'll be maybe tomorrow. Hell, I don't know. And maybe we'll have this thing done and ready for it to go back to its home. Well, okay, it's the next day from the last time you saw me. Well, we made Captain No Brakes run, and now we've got it put all back together. Put all put. Put all put. It's back together. Have a look. Well, this is what it used to look like, except I went ahead and put that box on it. I made a deal with the owner, traded in that box for the rack that was on the rear rack previously, and I wanted that for Ruby Sue. But yeah, this is Captain No Brakes put back together. and it starts up right away. Sounds pretty good. Let's see how this thing moseys down the driveway. Now there is something with this quad that I don't think I can fix easily, and that's when you put it in gear, it doesn't really want to go. But give it a little bit of gas, it'll go into gear. I don't know what causes that. I don't think the linkage is out of adjustment. I kind of think maybe the shift forks are just worn, but let's see how it goes. But feels pretty good otherwise. Listen, I appreciate you all hanging out with me. This has been a long journey on Captain No Brakes here. It's been through a lot, and it's about ready to go back to its home. But like I said, I appreciate you hanging out with me. This probably ended up being either a really long video or I split it up. I don't know what I did yet. We'll find out. In the meantime, if you wouldn't mind, please subscribe, like, share, comment, share it with your friends, invite them to have a watch party. No. But I guess that'll do it. In the meantime, you ride safe, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye now.